Hello, citizens of the verse. This episode of the shipyard is all about weapons hardpoints. To start with, every item on a ship is going to be attached to it via a hardpoint, and each hardpoint will have restrictions as to what kind of item can be attached to it. This is to prevent people from putting a power plant where a turret should go, or from trying to put a fuel tank where the radar is supposed to be, and so on. Weapons hardpoints are going to have a few specific restrictions that apply to just them. First off, from now on they will be restricted to a single-sized item. They'll no longer fit a range of sizes. Also, if you attach a gimbal to a hardpoint, it'll drop the weapon size that can be attached to it by 1. And some weapons hardpoints will have additional restrictions limiting what kind of weapons can be attached to that specific hardpoint. A good example of this is the weapon hardpoint that the nose gun for the Vanguard is attached to. A fixed weapon mount is when you attach a weapon directly to the hardpoint. This allows you to use the largest weapon size available for that hardpoint, but forces it to fire directly ahead of you so you have to physically move the ship in order to aim it. A gimbaled mount means that you've placed a gimbal between the weapon and the hardpoint, which gives it a full range of articulation when firing, but will drop the weapon size that's mounted onto it by 1 point. There are a variety of items like tri-link, quad-link, and barrage modes that never survive the transition from drawing board to implementation. The concept of twin-linked weapons evolved into the turrets we currently have in the game. One of the most confusing aspects of the new Matrix involves how turrets are being handled, and the next article goes into extensive detail about this, so we won't be spending too much time covering that here, other than to point out that this new system counts a turret and all the weapons on it as one item. So the overall weapons count for a good number of ships is going to appear to go down, but in fact they haven't lost any weapons at all. Another confusing thing about turrets can be typified using the Mustang chin turret as an example. The old system labels it as having 2 size 1 hardpoints. But the new system looks at that same loadout of guns, and since it's looking at the turret as one item, classifies it as being a single size 2 hardpoint. It doesn't acknowledge the 2 guns that are attached to it, but in reality it still has the same 2 size 1 guns mounted onto it. I know the wording on this is very confusing and easy to misread, and I had to reread it several times over before it started to make sense. The armaments that can be found on a ship are divided into 4 subsections. These are weapons, turrets, missiles, and utility items. Weapons, turrets, and missiles are fairly self-explanatory, except to note that missiles also include torpedoes, and utility items are going to be reserved for odds and ends like the Hornet Store-All box. Things to note: you cannot put missiles onto a weapon hardpoint or any other hardpoint that isn't specifically designated for missiles. One question that was posed was, why can you only attach a size 2 weapon to a size 3 gimbal? This is the same rule as before, nothing has changed. Whenever you place a gimbal onto a hardpoint, it reduces the size of the weapon that can be attached to it by 1 point. And when asked why they removed the ranges of sizes from the hardpoints, the answer was, first, very few ships actually use this system. Also, if you wanted to run with either a fixed or gimbal loadout, then why would you ever attach anything other than the largest size weapon that you could fit onto it? And if your answer was to save energy, then you could always alter the amount of energy that's being allocated to your guns from the cockpit console. Eliminating the range helped to streamline a few things for the developers while making the hardpoint system a bit more straightforward and easier to understand. For those of you who still have questions, particularly when it comes to the turrets, the entire next video is going to be dedicated to just that subject matter. Thank you for tuning in once again for this latest installment on how to read the new ship Matrix. I hope you can join me again for the next episode, which will be all about turrets and how these changes in the ship Matrix are going to affect them.